Welcome to Mithral Brews. My name's Chris. Okay, I'm continuing my journey in creating the strahdvonzarovich NPC actor in my Foundry D&D system. I'm doing this as a follow-up to my first video here, in which I created Strahd using only the SRD 5.1. The template that I used was the vampire, and then the mage caster, or using the mage spell casting feature, is really the only changes, with a few things like adding the wolf form and updating the unarmed strike. Outside of that, we added some of the notes to the biography that came from the source book, and we updated the layer actions to include the layer actions that also come from the source book. Aside from that, it's pretty much the vampire with a few changes. So let's take the same philosophy and bring it into the SRD 5.2 version of vampire and the SRD 5.2 version of the mage, and combine the two, creating a new Strahd ready to work in our 5.2 or our 2024 rule set. So let's start the same way. We're going to go over to our compendium browser, open up our compendium browser, go to monsters, and this time we're going to filter just to the SRD 5.2. And we're going to type vampire. There they are. Click on that, and we're going to install that again. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to type in mage and bring down the mage. Now this time we will have to use the mage from the 5.2. The big difference in mage in the way NPC spellcasters work in the 2024 version is that they don't really have spell slots. So you'll see here, even in Foundry, they just call them additional spells, so you can quickly grab and click the cast button. But this won't eat up a spell slot. They have number of uses per day. So if we look here and we open this little view panel here with the little square box, you'll see that the way the mage works is at will. They can cast all these spells at will. So any one of these spells here can be cast and they don't use a spell slot. The mage armor is already calculated, or it is not calculated into the armor. So you would have to cast it and add it to the armor. It also has fireball. For instance, it can cast it 2 times a day. So when you cast the fireball, if we click here, it'll say consume activity use. The other part is the number of spell slots. For instance, for the mage, or let's say spells it could cast in say combat, have changed, because now some of the spells have been moved to these bonus action spells or protective magic spells, which are a division of counterspell and shield. So one thing you got to kind of consider, if we open up the original mage, they had essentially, if we look here, they have 4, 7, 10 plus 4, 14 spell slots that they're using. And in the 2024 version, they're getting 3, 6, 9, 12 slots. So they're losing 2 slots, but they're also moving first level spells. I do believe 2 first level spells into a cast at will. So there's essentially, you could say they're still getting 14 spells per combat. If we put it in those terms. The way I've learned that a lot of new monsters are designed, it's really designed for what is a monster going to do in 2 to 3 rounds, because that's typically the length of combat that you kind of want to plan for, or the length of the time an enemy should last through a combat. All right, so with that considered, we have to make some changes and some considerations to Strahd's spell list versus the mage spell list. So it's not as easy as a 1-to-1 changeover like it was in the Strahd in 5.1 and the Mage 5.1, where all we had to do is make different spellcasting selections. We could still just make this different spellcasting selections, and with that, just give more spells in the action under the action tab rather than bonus actions and reactions for the vampire. The vampire, as in comparison from the 5.1 to the 5.2 version, at this point anyways, has more bonus actions and reaction or options in terms of actions than the 5.1 did at that point. So I think I don't really want to muddy the water in the number of actions or bonus action options that the vampire has. I think the way Strahd's set up, I don't think protective magic is something that is a major part of his background. So I don't think we need to really focus on that. We can take these three castings and add a few more spells up here and divide it amongst a number of spells that the Strahd can cast. So after I've gone through all that, that's, really kind of the philosophy I'm taking and the approach I'm taking to changing Strahd in the 5.2 version. All right, so if we unlock the sheet again, and now we can rename Strahd just like we did before. strahdvonzarovich. And then let's do the same thing. Let's up his CR to 15. We're going to up his intelligence to 20. We're, again, leaving everything the same. You'll see that everything pretty much stayed the same from the previous version. You'll also notice the changes in the sheets, because this is the legacy NPC sheet and this is the 2024 version of the sheet, and you'll notice it just has layers, a check. You can check or uncheck that, and then when you close it, you can say they're in their layer, they're not in their layer. And when they're in their layer, they're going to get an additional legendary action, an additional legendary resistance. So the rule you would follow is that when Strahd is encountered within Castle Ravenloft, these would be added. Which in some way, if we look at like how the Heart of Sorrow works, you can maybe, rather than giving the Heart of Sorrow features where the Heart of Sorrow takes 50 points of damage for Strahd while he's in the castle, you can say this kind of is the effects of the Heart of Sorrow is giving Strahd a legendary action, legendary resistance. All right. Let's take a look at the sidebar here on the sheet. So we have that there's a climb feature, which really takes the place of spider climb in terms of the way the 2021 or 2014 version or the 5.1 version works in the 5.2 version. So we don't need to change the speed. Skills still probably need to be changed. So again, we're going to give him expertise in the 3 skills like stealth, perception, arcana, and proficient in religion. We'll add that. Let's add the languages. Elvish, giant, and I do believe that's it there. And then abyssal, infernal. We can remove the wording here. So now we have that. We're going to leave everything as much as I said. There's things I don't like. Again, we're just going to keep to the way it's set up and just add the changes that we added to the 5.1 version. So we don't really need to change anything here. That's all stays the same. Now we can go to the forms. So what they moved is the feature shape changer has been moved to a bonus action. Previously, though it's not even set up that way, in the vampire setup, the shape changer does take an action to perform. Now it takes a bonus action. We do need to include the feature that adds the wolf to it. So we're going to change this. You'll see that now they've linked the creature. So if you wanted to grab and drop the token as a representation of Strahd, or you wanted to use the polymorph feature built into the 5e system to just change the image so it looks like a bat or a wolf or a mist of clouds, which you would have to create your own token for mist of cloud of mist. So we're going to put comma, medium, wolf, and we could even, let's even add the SRD 5.2, and then it's always weird how it all of a sudden changes the way the sheet appears. All right, so we added the wolf there, and we can even do like it has there, the change, put parentheses, put speed 40 feet, comma, or medium miss. If we hit save, so there's the wolf. Now we have it here. We have that set up. We will make some changes to this to improve the way that activity works, but for now we'll leave shapeshift there. That adds the wolf shapeshift. Now we just need to change the attacks. So we see Grave Strike, which it says in vampire form only. This is pretty much the same as the unarmed strike. So we would want to add the vampire or wolf strike. And now here's the thing. It adds the 2d6 necrotic. We did up the CR to from 13 to 15. I think we do this, make the same decision. We change this to slashing. We go over to activities. We take the attack and we add the 46 necrotic. So we add 4 more. So instead of 2d6, it's 66 necrotic. I think that, again, fits to why we increased Strahd from 13 to 15 CR, and it goes with the idea behind the stat block. So we're going to close that. Now when we roll the attack, it will have 66 necrotic. As you see here, they've already added the escape check, and that's one of the other things why I don't feel bad upping the damage, because one thing is when it hits, it automatically does the grapple condition, but the save DC to get out of it is only 14 versus 18. So click here just to show the attack. I want to go over here. You'll see the attack, and then it already has the grapple built in. So what we had to build previously in the 5.1 version is already set up in the 5.2 version. If we roll damage, you'll see 66 is there. If we roll, it'll roll all 6 dice. So, all right, let's clear that. That's the only thing that needs to change. The bite is a little bit different, so we can go here. We can do the same thing. Remove which form, because we know bite will work on any form. The wolf form and the bat form and the vampire form has the same thing. Now, here's another one of those things that it doesn't really, I guess, translate. 5.2 version or the 2024 version is really made a big change. There's no more damage to the bite. It's just a saving throw. And if the saving throw fails, then the enemy takes the piercing damage and the necrotic damage. What I might do to improve that would be to create a different bite that's just for the wolf form that didn't do the necrotic damage, but likely did the same amount of damage the original bite was, and that was 1d6 plus 4. So that might be something that needs to be changed. Charm is the same. It's a little bit different though. It's now casting a spell versus using just a feature of charm. And it's a recharge when she can do it. With this, we've built the 2024 version of Strahd without the spell casting. So now we're back to that philosophy and thought there. Like, how do we set up his spell casting abilities? So the easiest thing to do is drag and drop the spell casting from the mage. So now you already have it in the actions. It will show up all the spells. Then will show up in the spell casting box or tab. You don't really need the spell casting tab anymore with the 2024 way 2024 NPC casters work, but it's there still. I would make sure though to change your spellcasting ability to the ability that is being used so that it is intelligence. All we have to do is then go back to the feature. We can now edit the feature on Strahd's sheet and change it from spell. You'll see that it does some lookups and stuff. So we want to change it to intelligence. So it's already changed. Here's where it's a little bit different with the 2024 version versus the 2014 version. It will be that you do want to embed all of the spell choices into the spellcasting list here. So to do that, we want to remember what we were using for the 2014 version. And I never did finish that, but we're going to go over here to spellcasting, so that we can view the list of spells that we had. So cantrips, mage hand, prestidigitation, ray of frost. Now here's where you start going to, how do we divide all of these spells into this spellcasting ability? We're not going to use the bonus action spells or the reaction spells that the mage gets. We're just giving those 6 slots more spells here. And how do you divide that? So my thoughts would be, we want to make sure Ray of Frost is on there. Again, let's remove detect magic and light like we did with the previous version. That means we start with mage hand. We also want to remove mage armor because we're not using that either. And then we want to look up the 2024 version or the SRD 5.2 spell list. So we'll open the compendium, go to spells. We want 5.2 version 0. He's a wizard, so let's filter to wizard. And now we can pull these spells over. Ray of Frost. And then what are we putting as the other 2 first level spells that would be also at will now? So got to go here. So we're looking at comprehend languages, fog, cloud, sleep. I think being fog is a big part of the Ravenloft feel. I think fog cloud would be one of the ones that for first level at will. So if we look here for fog cloud at level 1, so we need to switch our spells to level 1. Bring over fog cloud. And then we need to then add another one. So do we take comprehend languages or sleep? To me, I think the nice thing about the way the mage is it uses the mage armor, which is beneficial constantly, but really in combat it's only cast once, and rather than using a spell slot or a spell use capability, they've made it pretty easy by just making it it's technically always on and it's already cast, which would make sense. So let's just do comprehend languages. I think that's a safe without making him too powerful with the at will, because now he has fog cloud at will, which can be quite useful. And then comprehend language is more of a flavor during the role play part of the adventures. Now we got to decide, what does he get for 2 days, casting spells 2 times a day each. So what they've done is they've brought the Fireball and level 4 version of Fireball. He did have Fireball in his list of spells. It would have been part of the 3 slots for level 3 Fireball. Giving him 2 level 4 versions of Fireball takes up 2 of these like 4th level slots. So it's really saying that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high level slots should be used for 4th and 5th level spells. I think it's safe to say 2 days each, so 2 fireballs, and then it is okay at level 4. We probably want to get we're not going to be able to bring all these spells over, so we kind of decide what we're going to not use. Scrying, I do believe, is a very important to the way Strahd works, but at the same time, we're talking about combat when you're engaged with them. Scrying's not really going to be that useful. If we look up scrying in 2024 version, yeah, it's not something he would probably cast or have ready to cast in combat. He probably would know this spell, and it would only be cast outside of combat. So let's go to Animate Objects. Animate Objects is a 5th level spell. The only other 5th level spell in, let's see, I think Cold to Cold is the other 5th level spell. So replacing Animate Objects or Cold to Cold with Animate Objects 1 time a day makes sense here. And then Fly is a 3rd level spell. So doing 1 3rd level spell, Fly. He had Animate Dead and Non-Detection. I think Animate Dead makes sense. I don't think he's going to be animating a lot of dead, and so doing it once a day in combat is fine. Now we're back to the invisibility. So he had greater invisibility as a 4th level spell. I think removing regular invisibility and giving greater casting a greater invisibility at once per day is not going to give him too much of an advantage. So Mirror Image is definitely a useful spell for a vampire. So 2 times a day, I think Mirror Image should be balanced. Polymorph. He already does shape change. Polymorphing another creature might be useful. He already has greater invisibility, animate object, and then 2 4th level fireballs. I think giving him 1 more once a day spell would be fair. And I think Blight would be the one that makes the most sense to me. I mean, he is a vampire, he is evil, controls the land. So I think Blight makes sense. And then giving him 1 more 2 times a day casting, and I think that could be Gust of Wind. Now he said there would be 12, basically be able to cast 12 spells that are not at will. So that gives us 2, 4, 6 in the 2 times a day, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1 more 2 times a day spell. Detect Thoughts, or actually I would probably say Sleep. Sleep is another good one. Probably not so useful in the later stages, but it could be useful in terms of possibly preventing or creating an interaction with Strahd at early levels, but preventing a TPK if the party decides to attack Strahd outright. Him casting Sleep to drop, 1st, 2nd, possibly up to 3rd level characters. A party of characters might be useful for him to have. So there we go. Now we have 12. He has 12 slots. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the 2 in the 2 first level spells in the at will gives you the 14 spells that the mage has across the reaction and action. So the next thing we need to do with this, I like to do is I move the sheet over, go to the spell casting ability and pop this open like this. And we need to change the activities. So we're going to edit this. We have all the links here, but we're going to change the activities. So we know we got rid of Detect Magic. We got rid of Light, Mage Armor. We left the 4th level Fireball just to check. If we click on Fireball, we go to Spell, you'll see that it's up it's moved to 4th level. So when it gets cast at 4th level level. Then we got rid of invisibility, cone of cold, and fly. So that means we just need to add the rest of these spells. So we're going to grab from the character sheet. We can drag comprehend languages over to here. We can leave it display in the spell book if we want, and we just need to check here. I don't think there's anything else we need to change. No, you're just changing it. It doesn't really change to add a spell slot. We're ignoring the properties as it would say up here, and we're just casting the spell from there. So then we drag fog cloud. We already got Mage Hand, Prestidigitation, and Ray of Frost. We have Fireball. We're gonna bring Gust of Wind. Next thing I like to do is reorder these so that they're in the same order as they are on the sheet. Right now, they're all set to just cast as many times as he wants for free. We're going to fix that here in a second. So rearrange the setup here. Fireball, Ray of Frost goes after Prestidigitation. And then we have Fireball, Gust of Wind, Mirror Image, Sleep, Animate Objects. All right. So 2 times a day each. It starts with a Fireball. So we're going to go to Fireball. We already have it. It already is set up 2 times a day. Then we're going to go to Gust of Wind, open this up. We're going to go to Activation, Consumption, and we're going to choose this to be 2 times max. And then we're going to add Recovery, Day, and recover all uses 2 times a day. Then we're going to say it's going to consume this activity. And that's it. So when it uses Gust of Wind, it will click here and it'll say use this activity. You've got 1 or 2 activities, or 1 of 2 uses available. So, or use 1 of the 2 uses available. And we would do that all the way through. So mirror image, same thing, activation, consumption. You can even click here first to recovery, switch to day. And there you go. And you just do that all the way down. And then once you get to animate objects, the only thing you're doing differently is you're going to change it from 2 to 1. And then again, switching the recovery to a day. And you just do that all the way down. You can close that, complete that. All the spells are here for you to hover and look at if you want. You also can look at it at the feature tab. Going down here, and you can hover and get the information you need, so you don't have to switch between the spell book. Sometimes I don't even add the spells to the spell book. I think it's fine if you do it either way. So the nice thing about here, I guess, you can see like the target, the range, and all the information a little more cleaner. But when you cast it from here, it does not use any slots or any of the activities. It's just really, you're just clicking and it's putting it into chat. So be careful with that, where if you go here, you hit cast spell, then you select which spell you want to cast. So if I want to cast Fireball, it's going to consume 1 of the activity uses. We could do the same thing with our biography. So it adds everything from the default 5.2 biography section. We could go here, if you've already made this RD for 5.2, or 5.1, I could grab all of this, copy it, and paste it over here for Strahd specifically. And that way, all that information is pretty much the same. There's nothing here that's that different. It really comes down to the layer actions. Now, if you only have the the SRD content and you're trying to make it off of the SRD, you don't really have the information on how the 2024 rules handles layer actions. One simple thing is, as I pointed out, you can say, well, he's inside his layer and this is the legendary actions. So that's why I activated the monster manual. If I activate the monster manual and I go to if I open up the journal here and go to the page on vampires, I'm going to see some more information on the vampires itself, and we scroll down to vampire layers. Now you start seeing some of the things come back that you saw in the 5.1 version. One is the children of the night. The vampire exerts influence over the animals in its domain from dusk till dawn. Medium or smaller beasts have the charmed condition while within 1 mile of the lair. So if we look at the Children of the Night feature from 2024, it says the vampire magically calls 2d4 swarms of rats, provided their sun isn't up. While outdoors, a vampire can call 3d6 wolves instead. So the Children of Night does change a little bit. So it's kind of up to the DM, like, well, how many beasts are going to be around the Castle Ravenloft, for instance. So you might want to make it still feel more like Strahd, is bring over the idea that, okay, so all these beasts within 1 mile of Castle Ravenloft have the charm condition. Well, that's going to be 2d4 swarms of bats or rats or 3d6 wolves, right? So you might combine both of those. The downside is that this information isn't in the stat block, so you kind of have to have the monsters manual to see this information and add that. I think I really feel like these do fit very well with the Strahd character in Ravenloft. I don't think there needs to be let's look back and look at the layer actions on D&D Beyond again. We don't, what are we losing if we do it this way? The fact that Strahd can pass through walls, doors, ceilings, and floors, does that really need to be an layer action? Could that just be a feature that Strahd just has? I mean, it is his home. Strahd summons an angry spirit. You can maybe put that, but again, are these things that really need to be layer actions, or just things that you as a DM add when you feel like you need to do to add a challenge to the player, environmental challenges and stuff? This is not really in layer action things that in the 2024 rules are that necessary, where the layer actions here under the monster entry for the Monsters Manual works. So with that, I'm going to say this is complete. This is strahdvonzarovich set up with just the 5.2 setup information using the modern content in your FoundryVTT. With the Monsters Manual, so I'm going to add this little caveat here at the end. The Monsters Manual adds one additional monster, and that is the Vampire Umbral Lord. And the Vampire Umbral Lord is a CR15 already. It has a few more, I should say, it's a little stronger, and it might fit Strahd a little bit more. But then flavor-wise, there are some things about the Umbral Lord that I don't quite think fits that well with strahdvonzarovich. I think in general, there's a lot of things you got to consider as a DM, what you want, what your flavor you want it to be. Do you want it a little bit of old school with a little bit of the new school? So like, for instance, for me, I would bring the regeneration right back. I could just grab it from this version of the vampire, bring it over, and I'm going to have the regeneration. I would leave probably everything else here the same. I had the spell casting. Probably wouldn't change much here. I would definitely bring this up to 66 necrotic. And yeah, that'd probably be the way I'd leave it. And then using the information from the Monsters Manual on the layers, you could even do this to do that. We go here, we go edit. If I really want to make it fancy, I'm going to open up here. I'm going to go to the Monsters Manual. All right, so we go to Vampire Layers. Vampire Layers. I'm going to click. Actually, I'm going to import this quick. I'll open it up here. Go to Vampire Layers. And then where it says Edit, I'm going to pop this out. I'm going to scroll down to here. And you see where it says Vampire Layers Embeds. I'm going to grab that journal entry. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to bring it here so it's embedded into this stat block. And then now I'm going to save this. And you're going to see that it brought everything I need over for the vampire entry into this stat block. I don't need this anymore. I'm going to delete this because I don't want to refer back to this one. I want to keep the compendium one only. But now I've added that to my Strahd, so I don't need to bounce back and forth from one to the next. And there, now I have that information, plus I have the stuff from the Curse of Strahd in there. And there we go. We're ready to go. This one, I will also, this one's set. I will also add the configured prototype token. I forgot to show this last time. You might want to change the name here. So, add countstrahd. Of course, I would want hover for everyone for the name, and then I want to hover for owner for the hit points. And then lastly, I want to link actor data because this is the only version we're going to put on the canvas. Close this, bring it down, and now there's the 2024 version of Strahd. Ready to go, ready to cast spells, ready to attack, and then of course I made my custom ad that he gets to regenerate every round. So, all right, that is my 2024 version of Strahd. You saw my previous video for the 2014 version, or we would say legacy and modern content version. Hopefully that will help. Again, my point is to show you how to create your own content rather than having to import or use modules to create that for you. These will be much more useful to you as they're already set with the activities and actions that you need. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel. It helps me ensure that am I doing something that makes sense? Am I creating content that you want to see? If you would like to see some other content creations, let me know. And I'll do that for you in future videos. Appreciate your time. Keep your brews tasty.